Hello and welcome again to another rare episode in this humble YouTube channel. I'm not a full-time content creator or YouTuber or influencer or whatnot, so I don't have the chance to make as much content as other outlets, but I think that's somewhat of a good thing because I can only make a video when it interests me enough, so I have to reschedule everything to have the time to make it. And we had an occasion about a month ago in which Fuji has announced a pretty special camera, the RF100s, whatever, which is probably the smallest medium format camera ever if we consider the 44 by 33 millimeter sensor a medium format sensor. Well, the Hasselblad Nano 7 is smaller, but it's not as much of a camera, and with the lens it will probably get bigger in most situations. And it's a very different camera. If you want a video about it, we can have a chat about it. I don't mind, just write it in the comments, it will be nice. Anyway, since I'm not an influencer, I don't get shipments of the camera and no money changes hands, I did not get a copy of the RF100, so I haven't tried it. So this is far from being a review. I've some stuff to say about the camera, but you probably heard those. I do wanted to discuss something that I've seen coming up in various forums and discussions online, which refers to the lack of IBIS, of in-body image stabilization system, or in-lens image stabilizer for that camera. Some people say IBIS is redundant, nobody needs it, be a good photographer, you know. Magnum photographers used to take such good photos with, without any IBIS and without any stabilization and blah, blah, blah. This argument is true for every new tech. Most photographers took great photos with much less gear than we do. Most photographers couldn't take their medium format camera and shot a YouTube video in 4K 10-bit the way I do it, and I must say, I don't envy them. I like having a better camera. I like having IBIS, and in this video we're gonna take a short dive into some photos that I've taken, in which I will try to explain the benefits and what having an IBIS is all about, considering that we're talking about topographic photography mostly, which means slow pace photography, sometimes with a tripod, which means slower apertures. In that sense, the RF100 seems great. It has a rather wide lens, a bit wider than what I usually like, but it has the huge croppability of the 102 megapixel sensor. It has only f4 in this lens, but to my type of photography, it's usually not an issue at all. So it looks like it should be an almost perfect camera for me, and I really like compact cameras, and I really like not having to haul around this entire GFX100s setup or any other large setup. But this camera has other shortcomings, and I think IBIS may be one of the most influential, especially as topographic photographers and landscape photographers, as photographers who uses the maximum depth of field in an image to include everything, who try to get the best optical performance and work in the lens's sweet spot whenever possible, and as a technical photography enthusiast. True, tripod is always the better technical way to go, but we don't always have a tripod, we can't always carry a tripod. And being able to just wander around and take photos, I think, is very important. Let's dive in the photos. I made a small collection that I think will demonstrate how important IBIS is to my way of photography, and see what's going on. Okay, so before diving into the images, I just want to mention every image has the shutter speed attached to it. You can watch it on the Lightroom window, and I'll of course say something about it. But the ability to take stable photos in set shutter speed is affected by many variants. The stability of your hands, the level of skill, the amount of coffee you had or other substances, not judging. And since these are some archive photos, I haven't done a test of with or without IBIS. I will, of course, try to recreate the entire situation in which the photo was taken, which is very important to the subject of this video. So let's get ourselves a cup of coffee and start this long way into the images. Of course, this is going to be pretty long because I'm going to stop at every image, but if you get the idea of it, there is timestamps, you can just jump to the conclusion or whatever. Let's start. Okay, so here we can see a playground. The image is shot at 1/9 of a second. It's not f1.0, it's probably f11 or 16 because this image is shot with the Voigtlander 50 f1.2, one of my favorite lenses. This is also why it's cropped to 6x6, to 1x1. So let's take a deeper look inside. So this is at 100%, and we can see the level of details is quite impressive. There might be some level of motion of it's not as crisp as it might have been using a tripod, but I think it's enough for most uses. And of course, this is me traveling with all my children to the playground, not a place where I can haul on a tripod and set every scene and every frame and had the time to ponder and see and be stable and take the 2-second timer or cable release. And in my opinion, this is a very important thing to notice, is the ability that I have to take photos almost wherever I want. Let's go to the next one. Just a daily stroll in the city with this very weird track to see in the heart of Amsterdam. And again, we're talking about 1/10 of a second, probably f11 to f16. 50 millimeters with ISO 1600. This is important because when we want to achieve critical sharpness all across the image field, a deep depth of field, we sometimes use the close aperture setting, and this allows me to take this image at 1.10 without cranking the ISO too high. 1600 for the GFX100 sensor is nothing. It's as clean, almost as clean as it gets. So let's dive into details and see what we can see here. Now we're going straight to 200. You see the sharpness is critically good. It's impressive. We can practically see every speck of dust on the vehicle itself, on the tires. We have all the details needed, and this is 1/10 of a second, just casually strolling the street. Here's another image in the evening at 1/13 of a second. This one is color. Here I think we can see some noise at the ISO 1600, and usually noise is more visible or less pleasant in color photos. But then again, look at all the details we can see. These are very fine details. We see the fences and the webbing and whatnot. Here again, it's a shady spot in midday with a high amount of details. Not the best image, don't really like it, but I think it demonstrates something. It's on 1/12 of a second. Aperture is probably 11 to 16, and it's ISO 400, which gives me huge latitude to work with. Let's go to the develop module, and we can see the highlights are stretched all the way back, the shadows are open all the way. And let's take a look at the fine details. This is 100% of the image. We can see the exact webbing. Everything is super sharp. In terms of detail, this is quite impressive at 1/12 of a second. And I dare to say, this fit is hard to achieve with a camera without any sort of stabilization, be it optical or mechanical, in the sensor. And though the RF100 will probably be one of the best cameras to shoot with no stabilization, because it's rather condensed. It's not heavy per se, but it's very in the middle. Like, the lens doesn't protrude so much. Most of the weight is centered around our hands. So we can't hold it pretty stable. I think getting to an image at 1 to 12th of a second, 1 to 9th, 10th of a second, gonna be pretty hard. So here we see an evening shot, again in Amsterdam in Stedelijk Museum, which I highly recommend. We can see the excellent latitude of the GFX sensor, and we can also see the impressive amount of details here in the bike, in the faces of those two ladies. Quite impressive, and this shot was taken at ISO 6400. So even if the IBIS gains us 2, maybe 3 stops, Fuji claims much more than that, but let's say 2 or 3 stops, it means that we had to take it in much higher ISO or in shallower depth of field, and this allows me to take photos in conditions that I would never had the chance to do without a tripod. This is an image I took with probably 3 girls in the water. I'm standing up to my knees in this pond in the Black Forest in Germany, and it seems like a very nice frame. So I grabbed the camera and I zoned focus. It was ISO 400, 1/8 of a second. I've edited this image quite a lot, and you can see there is some grain added. And we can also see this one is not perfectly sharp. If you're standing in a pond with one girl tugging onto your bathing suit and with a camera inside the water and not so sure, sometimes you don't have all the time you want to stable, to take a good breath out and take the perfect shot, let alone with somebody who's in the shot that you don't want to notice you taking this shot. Of course, we could crank up the ISO from 400, we could do many things, but in this specific situation, didn't have the time to do anything, just put the camera to my waist, I think, and took the shot. And while this is not a pristine image in terms of technical sharpness, it's sharp enough for many uses, and it's either having it or not being able to take it. So I guess what the IBIS did here is not saving my image, making it completely sharp, but saving it to be useful, at least in social media, small prints. This image was taken at 1/5 of a second, which I would consider too slow for everything, including IBIS, but sometimes that kind of stuff works. Let's dive in and see. So as you can tell, the detail that stood still in the image are completely still, and we get the blur from blurred leaves that moved with the wind, which means even 1/5 of a second is possible. It's not easy, it's not consistent. Sometimes it will go and sometimes it will be totally off, but it expands the envelope of use cases, and this is quite amazing in my opinion. Look at the details here. Look at the details here, maybe slightly getting out of focus. I think it's quite impressive. Not tack sharp, but quite impressive. This one is shot at 1/12 of a second at f16. Again, this is a cloudy afternoon in a playground with kids all around me, strolling with the camera, having no chance in hell to take a tripod with me and making any undisturbed shots. What we can see here is the effect of plants and bamboos moving in the wind, creating somewhat of a tripod effect. It looks like it was shot on a tripod with the time to think, with the time to compose, with the time to look at the image and let the wind do its own to prolong the decisive movement, if you will. And it's all handheld, pretty quick to shoot. This is what IBIS does. This is the same. It's in the middle of the day, but in a very shady area at f10 at 1/8 of a second. And as we see, everything is tack sharp. Every detail, the rust, the mold of the concrete, the little stones in the cement on the stairs, everything is here. And this is, in a way, the bread and butter of topographic photography. It's the way it describes, it tells all the little details, it shows the material itself, the subject matter to its smallest particles. And the IBIS sometimes is the differentiator between having the shot or not, having a sharp image or not. having to carry a tripod everywhere or not having to carry a tripod, thus stepping into amazing frames, amazing scenarios, letting myself, wander around as freely as possible. To my creative process, I think this is impeccable. I can't describe, I can't figure out how I would do the same thing without this ability. In this image, the importance of deep depth of field, of encompassing depth of field, is exaggerated. We have several planes in the image and all are in focus. Let's take a look. So as you can see, the stones here, the metal reinforcement here, and everything all the way up to here is in focus. It's not tack sharp because it's f22, so f22 is not the sweet spot and it loses some sharpness. And with advanced tools, we can probably even add a bit to it to make it even sharper if anybody wants that. This one was taken at f5.6 inside an oasis, which means it's all closed up by bamboos and whatnot. So it's pretty dark inside. It's ISO 400 for maximum details for DR for 100%. And it's shot at 1/15 of a second. No tripod added at all. And let's see the details. And we can see the level of detail is just super impressive. Let's go to 200%. Every little leaflet or what's not of the tree, I don't know how it's called in English, don't remember right now, but we can see everything. This is just pixel peeping at its finest. Since this scene is not too deep, I could use f5.6. If we'll take the color mode, you can even see the stream of water that's on the same trip. And while ideally this shot was taken with a tripod, this was a family trip with 4 little girls running around, falling sometimes, doing what kids do. And sometimes we don't have the bliss of solitude and, to go into nature ourselves. We have our day job, we have a bed to bring home. And being able to take these kind of images with these kind of environment around us is very important to me, at least to my creative process. And this camera with the IBIS inside allows for it. You can see details are amazing. Look how sharp the stone is and how flowy, let's say, the waters are. One of my favorite subjects, you name it, is taking images in airports. I think airports are a very interesting subject in describing human nature, in describing the human experience in the world of ours. But airports are always a bit stressful. Even if you're on your own, you don't have the time to stop and take the image and use a tripod, and they're usually pretty dim. This image, shot at night, was shot at 1/5 of a second at f5.6 because everything is relatively far away, so I didn't need like f16 or f11. But yet, it was quite challenging to take. If we go inside, we can see the actual pilot of this Lufthansa aircraft, and we can see it may not be as tack sharp as it gets, but it's plenty sharp enough for most uses, for social media, of course, but also for relatively large print. And again, this is just the way I like it. Another nighttime image at 1/7 of a second is a 4000 f5. Let's take a look at the details here. Impeccable. We do see some noise, but the details themselves are just impressive in terms of motion blur or whatnot. We can see my computer is struggling with the image. We can see the motion in the wind, but we can see how the trees themselves are pretty stable. And again, it probably would have been a bit better technically with a tripod. Then again, it was some exhibition opening event or whatnot with no time at all for any dedicated photography, and yet this image is here. Here we can see another very important aspect of IBIS, and its ability to use slow shutter speed in order to emphasize movements while still retaining sharpness in the non-moving or less moving areas. And as we can see, nothing is tack sharp, but everything is sharp enough, and the motion is well emphasized. You can see it here and here and here. So yes, it gives us the vibe that's sometimes needed. We can see the same thing here. Well, she stands at the middle. She's pretty sharp. The audience are as sharp as it gets. And this is at f1.8 at ISO 200, which allows for impressive dynamic range and noiseless image, while still being able to take the shot and to emphasize the cloth motion, movement, and the dynamics of it in a way that would be very, very hard without any sort of stabilization. And the last one for today, a night shot taken with the FUJIFILM 50 f3.5 at the ISO 6400. And this is at f3.5, the widest aperture the lens offers, and at 6400, which is quite an extreme ISO setting, in my opinion, for technical shooting. And yet we manage to get some very impressive details. We can see the hint of the barbed wire here. We can see every branch of the leaf. We do have some noise, which indicates how bad it would probably be if we had to stretch the ISO 2 or 3 stops up. And this kind of image is something that I suspect would not be possible with cameras like the RF100. We can see here that we don't have the depth of field for the entire thing. And yes, I would prefer this to be in focus. But then again, this was a night walk with my dog. Had the camera on my shoulder, had a dog strapped to my arm. And I do believe this is good. I like this image. It's not the best I ever took, but it reminds me of things that I'll keep to myself, but I like that I had the opportunity to take this kind of image. So yeah, with this said, let's conclude. So as mentioned, IBIS may not be a must for many photographers, but it does broaden and expand the envelope in which we can take photos, especially regarding slow aperture photos, wide, deep depth of field photos, landscape photos. It broadens the time of day in which we can work without a tripod. It broadens our wander-off ability. If we don't have to take a tripod with us, we can go into places that we couldn't otherwise go. And the RF100 does let us get inside places that other larger cameras might have made more difficult. But the lack of IBIS is, I think, pretty influential. It's pretty important, and I wish Fujifilm would make maybe a better version of it, but I'm not that optimistic. I think this camera does exactly what I wanted it to do, and I'm assuming it will be a rather successful camera commercially. So I don't think we'll see any of that. I do, however, hope we'll see somewhat of a Leica Q43, like with a normal or wide normal lens attached to it. I think this is the better option for photographers like me, like us, topographic photographers who want to take, in a sense, the purest images, the less distorted images, the closest to human perspective. And to enjoy the abundance of details that is associated with this kind of photography. I hope this video was useful in your decision. If it was, please share, like, subscribe, do whatever the influencing stuff that should be done. It's free, it's good for me in a sense, though doesn't matter that much, to be honest. But do spread the word with friends and fellow Fujifilm or topographic photography enthusiast. And if you want to see more video regarding the images themselves, how to compose, how to do this kind of things, reviewing images and whatnot, please let me know down in the comments or DM or whatnot. And see you next time. Bye-bye.